Olivia hurried through the crowded city streets, her mind preoccupied with the mountain of work waiting for her at the office. As a high-powered corporate lawyer, her days were filled with client meetings, court appearances, and endless paperwork. She barely noticed the people around her as she wove through the sea of commuters, her stiletto heels clicking rapidly on the sidewalk. Rounding a corner at top speed, Olivia collided hard with someone coming from the opposite direction. Her briefcase went flying, papers scattering across the pavement. "I'm so sorry," she exclaimed, mortified. As she knelt to gather her belongings, she looked up into the warmest pair of brown eyes she had ever seen. "No worries at all," said a deep voice tinged with an accent she couldn't quite place. "Let me help you with that." The stranger, a tall man with tousled dark hair and a scruffy beard, crouched down beside her and began collecting her papers. "Thank you," Olivia murmured, flustered by his proximity and the way his presence seemed to fill the space around her. Their hands brushed as they reached for the same document, sending an unexpected tingle up her arm. Mateo," he said with a warm smile as he handed her the last of the papers. "Are you all right? That was quite a collision." "I'm fine, thanks," Olivia replied, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear self-consciously. "I'm Olivia. I'm so sorry again for running into you like that. I was in my own little world." "No need to apologize," Mateo assured her. "It was my pleasure to bump into such a lovely woman this morning. Perhaps we could do it again sometime, preferably over coffee instead of on a street corner?" Olivia felt her cheeks flush at his forwardness. Under normal circumstances, she would politely decline and be on her way. But there was something about Mateo's easy charm and kind eyes that made her hesitate. That's very sweet of you to offer, but I'm afraid I'm running late for work as it is." "Of course, I understand," Mateo said. "Well, if you change your mind." He pulled a business card from his pocket and scribbled something on the back before handing it to her. "My number, in case you ever want to grab that coffee." Olivia took the card, her fingers lingering against his for a moment. "Thank you. I'll think about it." With a final smile, she turned and continued on her way, her heart beating a little faster than usual. Throughout her busy day at the office, Olivia found her thoughts drifting back to her encounter with Mateo. There was something intriguing about him, a sense of adventure and passion that seemed so different from the buttoned-up world she inhabited. That evening, she took out his card and ran her fingers over the handwritten numbers. Before she could talk herself out of it, she picked up her phone and dialed. To her surprise, Mateo answered on the first ring. "Olivia," he said warmly, as if he'd been expecting her call. "I'm so glad to hear from you." "How did you know it was me?" she asked, caught off guard. He chuckled. "I had a feeling. So, about that coffee." They agreed to meet the next evening at a cozy cafe near the park. As Olivia got ready for their date, she felt a flutter of nerves mixed with excitement. It had been a long time since she'd allowed herself to be spontaneous like this. When she arrived at the cafe, Mateo was already there, looking casually handsome in jeans and a soft sweater. He stood to greet her, pulling out her chair with a flourish. "You look beautiful," he said sincerely, his eyes taking in her simple black dress and loose waves. Over steaming lattes, they began to get to know each other. Olivia learned that Mateo was a freelance photojournalist who had traveled all over the world capturing images of far-flung places and cultures. His passion for his work was evident as he described some of his adventures. "What made you decide to settle in the city?" Olivia asked, captivated by his stories. Mateo's expression grew wistful. "I loved the nomadic life, but after a while I started to crave some roots, a home base. And this city has always held a special place in my heart." As they talked, Olivia found herself opening up about her own life, her demanding career, her dreams of making partner at her firm, and the toll it sometimes took on her personal life. Mateo listened attentively, asking thoughtful questions and offering insights from his own experiences. Before they knew it, hours had passed and the cafe was preparing to close. "I can't believe how late it is," Olivia said, glancing at her watch. "I haven't lost track of time like that in ages." Mateo smiled. "Time flies when you're in good company. Would you like to take a walk? The night is still young." They strolled through the nearby park. the paths lit by old-fashioned lampposts. A light breeze rustled the leaves overhead, carrying the scent of blooming flowers. As they walked, their hands brushed against each other, sending little sparks of electricity between them. Finally, Mateo took her hand in his, entwining their fingers. Olivia's heart skipped a beat at the simple, intimate gesture. At a scenic overlook, they paused to admire the glittering city skyline. Mateo turned to face her, his eyes intense in the moonlight. "Olivia," he said softly, "I know we've only just met, but I feel like I've known you much longer. There's something special between us, don't you think?" Olivia nodded, her throat tight with emotion. "I feel it too," she whispered. Slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted, Mateo leaned in and brushed his lips against hers. The kiss was tender and unhurried, full of promise. When they finally parted, both were a little breathless. "Wow," Olivia said with a shaky laugh. Mateo grinned. "My thoughts exactly." As the weeks passed, Olivia and Mateo's relationship deepened. They explored the city together, trying new restaurants and discovering hidden gems. Mateo introduced her to his favorite art galleries and taught her the basics of photography. Olivia shared her love of classical music, taking him to concerts at the Symphony Hall. Despite their different backgrounds and lifestyles, they found they had much in common: a thirst for knowledge, a dry sense of humor, and a desire to make a positive impact on the world. Olivia was fascinated by Mateo's stories of his travels and the people he'd met along the way. He, in turn, was impressed by her sharp legal mind and dedication to her clients. But as their feelings for each other grew stronger, so did the challenges they faced. Olivia's demanding work schedule made it difficult to find time together. She often had to cancel plans at the last minute when an urgent case came up. Mateo was understanding, but she could sense his disappointment. One night, after Olivia had to bow out of a planned weekend getaway due to work, Mateo voiced his frustrations. "I know your career is important to you, Liv," he said gently, "but sometimes I wonder if there's room for me in your life." Olivia felt a pang of guilt. "Of course there is," she insisted. "I'm sorry I've been so busy lately. This case is just really crucial for the firm." Mateo sighed. "I get it, I do. But relationships take time and effort too. I miss you." Olivia took his hand, her eyes pleading. "I miss you too. I promise I'll make more time for us. Just be patient with me, okay?" He nodded, pulling her close. "Okay, we'll figure it out together." As summer turned to fall, Olivia made a conscious effort to create more balance in her life. She delegated some of her workload to junior associates and started leaving the office at a reasonable hour most days. She and Mateo settled into a comfortable rhythm, spending cozy evenings at home and taking weekend trips to nearby towns. But just as things seemed to be going smoothly, a new complication arose. Mateo was offered a prestigious assignment documenting indigenous communities in South America. It was an incredible opportunity, but it would mean being away for at least 6 months. When he broke the news to Olivia, her heart sank. 6 months? She repeated, trying to keep the dismay out of her voice. That's a long time. Mateo ran a hand through his hair, his expression conflicted. "I know, but this kind of opportunity doesn't come along often. It could really advance my career." Olivia nodded, forcing a smile. "Of course, you have to take it. I'm happy for you, really." But as the day of Mateo's departure drew near, Olivia found herself struggling with doubts and fears. Could their relationship survive such a long separation? Would Mateo meet someone else on his travels? Would she throw herself back into work and lose sight of the balance she'd fought to achieve? The night before he was set to leave, they had a quiet dinner at Olivia's apartment. The mood was subdued, both of them acutely aware of the impending goodbye. As they cleared the dishes, Mateo pulled Olivia into his arms. "Talk to me," he said softly. "I can see something's bothering you." Olivia buried her face in his chest, breathing in his familiar scent. "I'm scared," she admitted. What if this changes everything between us?" Mateo tilted her chin up, meeting her eyes. "Liv, my feelings for you aren't going to change just because we're apart for a while. If anything, I think this will make us stronger. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, right?" She managed a weak smile. "I hope so. I'm just going to miss you so much." "I'll miss you too," he murmured, kissing her forehead. "But we'll talk as often as we can, and I'll be back before you know it." They spent the night wrapped in each other's arms, savoring every moment. In the morning, Olivia accompanied Mateo to the airport. As they stood at the security checkpoint, neither wanted to let go. "I love you," Mateo said, his voice thick with emotion. It was the first time he'd said those words, and Olivia felt her heart soar despite the circumstances. "I love you too," she replied, pulling him in for one last passionate kiss. As she watched him disappear into the crowd, Olivia felt a mix of sadness and determination. They would make this work, no matter what. The first few weeks of their separation were the hardest. Olivia threw herself into her work, taking on extra cases to keep her mind occupied. But in quiet moments, the ache of Mateo's absence was almost unbearable. They spoke whenever they could, but spotty internet connections and time differences made communication challenging. As time passed, however, Olivia found herself adjusting to the new normal. She rediscovered old hobbies and spent more time with friends she'd neglected. She even started volunteering at a local community center, inspired by Mateo's dedication to social causes. For his part, Mateo was having the adventure of a lifetime. His emails and occasional video calls were full of colorful stories and breathtaking photos. But he always made sure to tell Olivia how much he missed her and how excited he was to share his experiences with her in person. About 4 months into Mateo's assignment, Olivia received some unexpected news. She had been offered a prestigious position at an international law firm in London. It was an incredible career opportunity, but it would mean leaving behind everything familiar. As she weighed her options, Olivia realized that her priorities had shifted. A year ago, she would have jumped at the chance without hesitation. But now, the thought of putting an ocean between her and Mateo made her heart ache. When she finally got hold of him to share the news, Mateo's reaction surprised her. "Liv, that's amazing!" he exclaimed. "What an incredible opportunity! You have to take it." Olivia frowned. "But what about us? I'd be moving even further away." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Actually," Mateo said slowly, "I've been thinking about making a change too. This assignment has been incredible, but it's also made me realize how much I value having a home base. What if I came to London with you?" Olivia's breath caught in her throat. "Are you serious? But what about your work?" "I can work from anywhere," Mateo pointed out. "And London would be a great base for European assignments. Plus, I hear they have a pretty good art scene," he added teasingly. As the reality of his suggestion sank in, Olivia felt a surge of joy and excitement. "You'd really do that? Move to a new country with me?" "In a heartbeat," Mateo said softly. "Olivia, these past few months have only confirmed what I already knew. You're the one I want to build a life with, wherever that may be." Tears of happiness sprang to Olivia's eyes. "I love you so much," she whispered. "I love you too," Mateo replied. "Now let's start planning our London adventure." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of preparations. Olivia negotiated the details of her new position while Mateo wrapped up his assignment early. They researched neighborhoods in London and started the process of finding a flat to rent. Finally, the day arrived for Mateo's return. Olivia paced nervously at the airport arrivals area, her heart pounding with anticipation. When she spotted him coming through the gates, her face broke into a radiant smile. Mateo dropped his bags and swept her into his arms, spinning her around as they both laughed with joy. When he set her down, he cupped her face in his hands, his eyes shining with love. "Hi," he said softly. "Hi yourself," Olivia replied, her voice trembling with emotion. Their lips met in a passionate kiss, oblivious to the bustling crowd around them. When they finally came up for air, Mateo rested his forehead against hers. "I can't believe we're really doing this," Olivia said. "Moving to London together, it feels like a dream." Mateo smiled. "The best kind of dream, one that's coming true. You and me, taking on a new city, new adventures. I can't wait." As they left the airport hand in hand, Olivia felt a sense of completeness she'd never experienced before. She and Mateo had overcome distance, doubts, and competing priorities to build a love that was stronger than ever. Whatever challenges lay ahead in their new life abroad, she knew they would face them together. In the weeks leading up to their move, Olivia and Mateo threw themselves into preparations with enthusiasm. They spent long evenings poring over maps of London, planning which neighborhoods to explore first. Mateo brushed up on his British slang, much to Olivia's amusement. They daydreamed about cozy pubs, weekend trips to Paris, and picnics in Hyde Park. But amid the excitement, moments of anxiety crept in. One night, as they packed up Olivia's apartment, she found herself overwhelmed by the magnitude of the change they were undertaking. "What if we're making a huge mistake?" she blurted out, sinking onto the couch surrounded by boxes. "What if we get there and hate it? Or what if—" She hesitated, voicing her deepest fear. What if we realize we're not as compatible as we thought once we're living together in a new place? Mateo sat beside her, taking her hand in his. "Liv, it's normal to have doubts. This is a big step. But think about everything we've already overcome. The distance, the time apart, the career challenges. If we can make it through all that, I truly believe we can handle anything." He pulled her close, stroking her hair soothingly. "And you know what? Even if things don't go exactly as planned, well, figure it out together. That's what partners do." Olivia relaxed into his embrace, drawing strength from his unwavering confidence in them. "You're right," she said softly. "As long as we're together, we can face whatever comes our way." The day of their departure arrived in a flurry of last-minute packing and tearful goodbyes to friends and family. As their plane took off, Olivia and Mateo clasped hands, exchanging excited grins. The familiar skyline of their city faded away, replaced by an endless expanse of clouds and possibility. Their first few weeks in London were a whirlwind of new experiences. They marveled at the city's blend of historic grandeur and modern energy. Every day brought new discoveries: charming cobblestone streets, world-class museums, and hidden gardens tucked away from the bustling thoroughfares. They quickly fell in love with their cozy flat in Notting Hill, with its colorful row houses and vibrant market nearby. Olivia threw herself into her new role at the law firm, relishing the challenge of international cases. Her colleagues were impressed by her sharp mind and dedication, and she soon found herself taking on high-profile clients. Mateo, true to his word, found plenty of work documenting the city's diverse communities and iconic landmarks. His unique perspective as a newcomer brought fresh life to even the most photographed sites. But amid the excitement of their new life, they faced unexpected hurdles. The dreary London weather took some getting used to, especially for sun-loving Mateo. Olivia struggled with the different legal system and had to put in long hours to catch up. They both battled bouts of homesickness, missing the familiar comforts of their old city. One rainy Sunday afternoon, about 2 months after their move, tensions came to a head. Olivia was stressed about a big case, snapping at Mateo over little things. He retreated into brooding silence, feeling unappreciated and out of place. Finally, Mateo spoke up. "Maybe this was a mistake," he said quietly. "Moving here, I mean. We were so caught up in the romance of it all, we didn't really think it through." Olivia felt a cold knot of fear in her stomach. "What are you saying? Do you want to go back?" Mateo sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I don't know, I feel like we're drifting apart instead of growing closer. This isn't how I imagined our life here would be." Tears welled up in Olivia's eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I've been so focused on proving myself at work, I haven't been present for you. For us." Mateo's expression softened. He crossed the room and took her in his arms. "It's not just you, Liv. I've been withdrawing too, instead of talking to you about how I'm feeling. We're both at fault here." They spent the rest of the afternoon talking openly about their struggles and fears. As the rain pattered against the windows, they rediscovered the connection that had brought them together in the first place. They made a pact to prioritize their relationship, no matter how hectic life became. From that day forward, they made a conscious effort to explore their new home together. They started a tradition of Adventure Saturdays, taking turns planning outings to different parts of the city or nearby towns. They tried new cuisines, attended local festivals, and slowly built a circle of friends from diverse backgrounds. As spring bloomed across London, Olivia and Mateo's relationship deepened. They learned to navigate cultural differences with humor and patience. They supported each other through work challenges and homesick moments, and they fell more in love with each other and their adopted city with each passing day. One sunny morning in May, Mateo surprised Olivia with a picnic in Regent's Park. As they lounged on a blanket surrounded by blooming roses, he pulled out a small velvet box. "Olivia," he said, his voice filled with emotion, "these past months have been the greatest adventure of my life. Not because of where we are, but because I'm sharing it all with you. You challenge me, inspire me, and make me laugh every single day. I can't imagine spending another day without you by my side." He opened the box, revealing a delicate vintage ring. "Will you marry me?" Olivia's eyes filled with happy tears. "Yes," she breathed. 1,000 times yes. As they sealed the moment with a kiss, Olivia marveled at how far they'd come. From a chance encounter on a busy street to building a life together in a new country, their love had only grown stronger through every challenge. She knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together, hand in hand. In the weeks that followed, Olivia and Mateo's engagement brought a new level of joy and excitement to their London adventure. They threw themselves into wedding planning with enthusiasm, blending traditions from both their cultures. They decided on a small, intimate ceremony in a picturesque English countryside manor, followed by a larger celebration back in their hometown, so all their friends and family could attend. As they worked together to create their perfect day, Olivia was constantly amazed by how well they complemented each other. Where she was detail-oriented and organized, Mateo brought spontaneity and creative flair. They balanced each other perfectly, turning potential stress into shared laughter and sweet moments. One evening, as they strolled along the Thames after a cake tasting appointment, Mateo pulled Olivia close. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "I never really believed in the idea of soulmates before I met you. It seemed too much like a fairy tale. But now..." He trailed off, gazing at her with such love that Olivia's heart skipped a beat. "Now?" she prompted softly. Mateo smiled, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Now I can't imagine it any other way. It's like every step in my life was leading me to you. Even when we were apart, I felt connected to you in a way I can't fully explain." Olivia leaned into him, overwhelmed by the depth of her feelings. "I know exactly what you mean," she murmured. "It's like finding a piece of yourself you didn't even know was missing." As their wedding day approached, Olivia found herself reflecting on their journey. She thought about that first collision on the street, the instant spark between them. She remembered their early dates, full of nervous excitement and endless conversation, the pain of their separation during Mateo's assignment, and the joy of reuniting, the leap of faith they'd taken in moving to London together, and how it had ultimately strengthened their bond. The morning of the wedding dawned clear and bright, as if nature itself was celebrating their union. Olivia stood at the window of her bridal suite, looking out over the lush English countryside. A sense of calm settled over her, chasing away any last-minute nerves. This was right. This was meant to be. As she walked down the aisle towards Mateo, Olivia felt as though her heart might burst with happiness. He stood waiting for her, his eyes shining with unshed tears and a smile that outshone the sun. When they joined hands, the rest of the world seemed to fade away. It was just the two of them, making promises of forever. Their vows, written separately but eerily similar in sentiment, spoke of partnership, adventure, and unwavering support, of choosing each other every day through whatever life might bring. As they sealed their union with a kiss, their assembled loved ones erupted in cheers and applause. The reception was a joyous blend of cultures and traditions. There was English tea alongside spicy empanadas, salsa dancing, and Morris dancers. Olivia and Mateo moved through the crowd, greeting guests and sharing quiet moments of connection amidst the festivities. As the night wore on, they snuck away for a moment alone in the manor's moonlit garden. Mateo pulled Olivia close, swaying gently to the faint strains of music drifting from the reception. "Mrs. Olivia Reyes," he murmured, testing out her new name. How does it feel?" Olivia smiled up at him, her heart full to bursting. "Like coming home," she replied softly. "No matter where we are in the world, you're my home now." Mateo kissed her tenderly, pouring all his love into the gesture. When they parted, both were a little breathless. "Ready for our next big adventure?" he asked with a grin. Olivia laughed, her eyes sparkling. "Always, as long as I'm with you." Hand in hand, they returned to their celebration, stepping confidently into their future together. They knew that life would bring its share of challenges and unexpected turns, but they faced it all with the unshakable certainty that they had found their perfect match, their partner in every sense of the word. As the years passed, Olivia and Mateo's love only deepened. They built a life in London filled with laughter, passion, and shared dreams. They traveled the world together, Mateo capturing breathtaking images, while Olivia's legal expertise took her to international conferences. They supported each other through career highs and lows, celebrated milestones, and comforted each other in times of sadness. They welcomed 2 children, a boy and a girl, who grew up with a rich appreciation for both their parents' cultures. Family vacations alternated between exploring European capitals and visiting grandparents back home. Their London flat became a warm, eclectic space filled with mementos from their adventures and the sound of multilingual chatter. Through it all, Olivia and Mateo never lost sight of what had brought them together. They still made time for adventure Saturdays, even if they now involved playground trips and museum visits with the kids. They stole quiet moments for just the 2 of them, whether it was a morning cup of coffee or a late-night stroll along the Thames. On their 10th wedding anniversary, Mateo surprised Olivia with a trip back to the city where they first met. As they stood on the corner where they had quite literally bumped into each other all those years ago, both were overcome with emotion. "I can't believe how much has changed," Olivia mused, looking around at the familiar yet altered landscape of their old neighborhood. Mateo squeezed her hand. "And yet the most important thing has stayed the same," he said softly. "My love for you has only grown stronger with each passing day." Olivia turned to face him, her eyes shining. Who would have thought that one clumsy moment would lead to all of this? Our beautiful family, our life in London, all the adventures we've shared. "I think a part of me knew, even then," Mateo admitted. "There was something special about you from the very first moment. I'm so grateful I had the courage to give you my number." Olivia laughed, remembering her own hesitation and the leap of faith she'd taken in calling him. "I'm grateful too, for all of it. The good times and the challenges, it's all led us here, and I wouldn't change a thing." As they shared a tender kiss on that familiar street corner, Olivia and Mateo both felt a renewed sense of excitement for what the future might hold. They had built a love story for the ages, one that spanned continents and overcame obstacles. But they knew that in many ways, their greatest adventures were still to come. Together, they would continue to grow, to learn, and to love. They would face whatever life threw their way with the unshakable bond they had forged. And they would always remember that sometimes the greatest journeys begin with an unexpected collision and the courage to follow your heart.